Hi, everyone. My name is Shashi Belamkonda. I'm the host of the Talking Headless show. This is the February show. If you're watching live or if you're watching as a recording, really love hosting this show. My day job is I work for the Infotech Research Group as an analyst. And here I am part of the Players Production Network with Paul Greenberg and with Brent Leary. So today we have some really exciting guests. Virve Virtanen is the VP of Communications, Analyst Relations, and a very interesting thing is I'm going to ask her some questions about all the Mitel user groups that she manages. Then we have Thomas Wieberneit, who's a very well-known CX analyst and very much with very well tuned to technology, and I enjoy meeting him. In fact, last week we were at the Zoo Analyst Day. Uh, I don't have to say much about them because I will let them introduce themselves and they will do a much better job. Just talking a little bit about the Talking Headless show itself. This is more for exposure to the analyst relations and the technology analyst community. The community is very welcoming. There's a lot of interaction and giving it more visibility so that companies understand how important analyst relations is to the growth of the company. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is also for retention. If you're watching the show live, please use the uh, chat button on LinkedIn Live or your place of choice, and would love to have a conversation with you all. With that, let me bring on to the stage Virve Virtanen. Hi, Virve, how are you doing?
Hey, Sashi, great seeing you. Thanks for having me.
No, very good. I'm really excited about this show because you have such a varied background, and I think we were talking a little bit in the last time we had a conversation. One thing, as you know, I talk a little fast, so I have to remember to slow down a little bit and also pause sometimes. But let's start off by introduce yourself and tell us about your journey to where you are today. Don't stop. We need all the details that we can that is going to help the community get introduced to you.
Okay, great. Well, thanks again, Sashi, for having me. It's super exciting and it's a privilege and pleasure to be here. So, my name is Virve Virtanen, and my journey in the analyst relations, I'm only 25, but let me just list all the companies that I've done AR from in Europe and in North America and East Coast, West Coast, and currently in Florida. So, and as far as topics or coverage within the in AR, I dare to claim that I've covered officially everything else except I can't think of. Done mobile gaming. I've done security, enterprise communications, navigation, maps, vehicles, you name it. I've been there. I've done that. So I think it's been a fantastic journey being able to engage with a such a wide group of analysts covering these different domains. So
Yeah,
it's
one thing that always strikes me, my first smartphone was a Nokia N95.
there you go. That's a good one.
And I think you have some connection to Nokia N95. So tell us about that.
Oh my goodness. Definitely, I was part of that N95 product launch process on the analyst relations side and introducing the product to the analyst domain worldwide, doing road shows from East Coast, West Coast, Europe, APAC, making sure that the analysts knew ahead of time what was going to take place and what we were bringing to the market. So very exciting.
Very nice. And I think the company, like I probably still have one of the N95s somewhere here. So tell me about why analyst relations? Like what attracted you to this field?
What attracted me to this field? Well, Sashi, like everything in many things in life, you can't plan. Things just happen, and then you you make choices and you decide on saying things. So I believe that my AR journey started by getting a phone call from the headquarters that we need some help on the AR front. Can you help us? So that's how it really started. But previously, before that, obviously being part of analyst briefings and things like that before officially starting in an AR role. But that's really how it started. I wasn't planning on being an AR professional, or that was not a career path that I had in my 5-year plan or 10-year plan. It just happened.
Very nice. You've been like almost globally in several countries and several cultures, right? What are some nuances that you've seen along the way? Particularly, I think I'd like to think this show is international. We've had guests who are also moving from country to country. Uh, I mean, I myself have moved like, gosh, 4 to 5 countries. The next guest in the March show is going to be from the Asia Pacific region. That's Sneha Kapoor. So I'm really excited about that too. Tell us a little bit about your experience and how do companies interact with analysts, and how do analysts interact with companies in different geographies. I mean, your experience will be very, very enlightening for all of us.
I mean, obviously, it depends on company by company, but I do think that I've the positions that I've held in different companies, I've been privileged to work or engage with the analysts globally, which I think, at least in the roles where the roles that I've had, it's very, very important. When you work with not only with the analysts who represent or are employed by the same company, but also the different companies. So obviously there are nuances in different cultures and different regions. But from working with the analyst side, I would say that the US analysts, it's more, being speed and specific, and it's a cohort of data, and it's about pipeline influence. And maybe Europe is more along the lines that you show that you've listened, and it's about security, it's about control, it's about local references, things like that. And APAC definitely is, you have to have those relationships, and you have to have a title, and you have to make sure that you've got the right product expert on stage, so to say. So, but I think that just makes the whole AR function even more valuable to the company, is that you have that exposure and you have those relationships and contacts around the world that really help and support your business and bring the insights back to the company.
Very nice. I also see you very much involved in Mitel user groups. So you're doing much more than just analyst relations. So describe to us. First question is analyst relations itself is a full-time job, and having user groups. How do you see the integration of both these roles, and how did you get into these roles, and what are some of the successes you've seen?
But it's definitely, I love them both, and I feel I'm very privileged to be able to run the user group program as well. It's fantastic to work with the customers directly, and I would say that they both jobs go hand in hand. I love hearing the customer stories and the customer challenges that there are, and then at the same time, relating that information or conversation to the analyst community as well, that I have that direct contact and channel to the customers, and I'm hearing directly from the market, which I can then relay to the analyst as well, and vice versa. This is what I'm hearing from the analysts, In some cases, it obviously applies to the customer community as well. But the whole Mitel user group experience and organization, it's just fascinating. It's unbelievable how customers are helping each other, how committed they are. Some of the user group local chapters are, decades old or decades young, if you will. Customers getting together and sharing, comparing notes, and doing things together on regular basis and cadence. So I see them, obviously for personal reasons as well, working very well hand in hand.
That's nice. I think, are you coming to Baltimore anytime soon for the user group?
Oh, shoot, we just did an event last spring in Baltimore. Where were you?
That's true. No, it'd be nice to come to an event in the Washington, D.C. area sometime. So you almost added marketer intelligence into what you just said. Is that like an official title also, or is that something that evolved from doing both of these two things?
I'm definitely part of that channel as well. So it's every company is different. Every company defines the AR role differently. Market intelligence being part of it at Mitel, definitely the inbound activity includes market intelligence side of things as well.
That's nice. So I was just asking you, how big is your team? And I think at Mitel, everybody says that everybody works for Virve.
Well, see, that's one of the Mitel executives told me at some point of time that Virve thinks that everybody works for her, and I took that as a compliment because I thought about it, and I really do think that everybody works for me in the sense that AR is about supporting the business, and that's one of the fun parts and the benefits of working in AR is that you can really see the difference. It depends on which team or which organization needs help. If it's strategy team or business development, or if it's executive guidance, or if it's product messaging, or if it's HR processes, or whatever else there is. AR is the one who is there for you. If you need, outbound perspective or outside perspective, or any market insights. So that's the kind of I'm not calling the shots and making people do things for me, but I'm there for them really in that perspective.
That's true, which actually segues very well into my next question about not necessarily just about Mitel, but in general, what would your advice be to other people in analyst relations to get executive buy-in? Obviously, this relationship sometimes reports to product, sometimes reports to marketing, so very different ways. So give us a few tips or hints on what is the best way to get executive buy-in.
Well, the always do your homework. By homework, I mean that understand where your executive is coming from. What's their experience and background on working with the analysts, and do your due diligence, because that then helps you to frame and show that either where you can add on or where you can bring even more to the table. I've worked with executives who are where I've had 100% buy-in on AR, and then the other side as well. It's like, oh my goodness, that's just pay to play kind of thing. So do your thing, and it's a vending machine type of exercise. So you have to do your homework with your executives, and then come up with where and how you can show the value of AR.
That's true. I want to say hello to Tony. Like I told you, this is a global show, and here we are. Tony Keskinen he says hello from Helsinki. He's got a very nice company called 180 Ops that's in revenue intelligence. So thank you so much, Tony. Anybody else who wants to join the conversation, ask questions, feel free to post it in whichever channel you're looking at.
I'll say hi
Hi.
to Tony as well, because we connected separately. So
Very nice. That's very nice. Yeah, and I think Thomas was talking about whether Tony is going to come to Atlanta. That's another event we are all going to be together there. Like I said, this is a very small community. People exchange thoughts. Even among analysts, there is no like competition or anything like that. Everybody is there to give their perspective. So tell me about your again tips for the community. How do you build relationship with analysts? What is the way that you convey things to analysts and from analysts? You answered a little bit there, but look at it from your experience over the different companies.
I would say that the obviously there's only so many things that you can do virtually and via the meeting apps. Where it all comes down to, it's the best way of doing things is really spending the time with the analysts, if it's conferences or your annual analyst events or road shows or whatever it might be that brings you to that face-to-face engagement. So I think that's the best way to start the relationship and understanding really, where your analyst targets or your analyst buddies are coming from. Because it's very difficult if you have a 30-minute briefing or 45-minute briefing or inquiry set up, really get out of the context, because you're just so busy trying to either get information or share information. So that doesn't really in that sense, help to build the personal relationship.
That's true. So we have a question here from Tony. What would be your advice for a CEO, founder, product owner who needs to bundle together endless relationships and growing the business as a whole? Great question, Tony. So,
Well, I mean, obviously, get an AI professional helping you to mapping out who are your targets, who are the best targets for, and start from like, what are you after? What exactly do you want from the analyst? Are you looking for information? Are you looking for exposure? Are you looking for coverage? Are you looking for references? So really understanding what your business needs are, and then starting to map out that who can help you with those goals and objectives and needs that you have. Is it local? Is it global? All of these different things. There are many variables that play into that equation.
that's true. Uh, on the same note, what are some ways you can help help brands? Again, this is for in general for the whole audience. Is capturing the analyst attention, especially in these days where there is a high volume of AI era. I also want to ask about what have you seen in terms of how people are using AI within their internal structures for reducing amount of back and forth or repeated tasks. Tony, I hope that answer. If you have any further questions, feel free to post them too.
Oh my goodness, yes, and I'm happy to have a conversation with Tony as well separately if he wants to.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us about in the age of AI and so much of content, like how do you cut through the noise and get the attention of analysts?
So two things, obviously, there's the inside. You were also asking that how do you use AI and what is there that Mitel brings to the market. I think luckily, not representing the company that is after those headline feature function AI type of coverage. But with having 80 million users out there, I think that brings you certain responsibility to your brand as well, which by that I mean is that you're not jumping on every single tech bandwagon, be the word of the day AI or anything else to that matter, but you actually make sure that you're offering the type of services, solutions, be it AI or whatever, in a responsible and secured and in a controlled way. And obviously, sometimes that story is not sexy, but it's very, very important. So how to catch the analyst attention in that feature function type of headline world? I think it's demoing the decision and the value and not just the model, and really explaining the full workflow, and the importance of the solution and why it matters, where it matters. And it's those customer use cases that really is the proof in the pudding, so to say, that validates the case.
That's very nice. In one of the questions that I often get is best practices, right? And best practices is like how do you expand your influence with analysts? How do you add more? I think yesterday I was actually listening to a briefing where, very similar to what you said, they said, one of the guests said, boring is good. And what they said, especially in terms of security, like if nothing ever happens, it's actually a
That's a good thing.
thing. Yeah. So that was very nice to hear. So tell us about, like, do analysts reach out to you? How do you reach out to analysts? Not necessarily you. What are some best practices in building these relationships when it's very new?
I think it's
I need to learn too. Like, even though I'm 3 years in this, I have to learn best practices too.
3 years. Okay, good. So we can compare notes there. I would say that if you're serious about your analyst relations function and your analyst relationships, it's a cadence of things, and it's that constant communications, and it's a drumbeat. So another executive at some point told me that I run the analyst relations like a military operation. And I take that as a compliment as well, because there is a method in this madness. I want to make sure that my company brand, be it Mitel, is in front of the analysts, and in the sense that I hope that I'm not spamming anybody. I'm definitely not. That's not the intent. But I'm trying to make it easy for the analysts to keep up with the company, make sure that they know ahead of time when things are about to happen. And at the same time, there's a monthly communications. There's a newsletter. There's a webinar. There's a personal quick email or note or text message or chat message, just checking in and seeing how things are going. And hey, by the way, did you see this, that, and the other? So it's that constant drumbeat of things.
Good. One thought that came to me as you were looking at this, and again, this is a general conversation. If the management does not ask analyst relations for any reports, right? What initiatives should the analyst relations person take to say, like, hey, you know what? Here's how I'm helping the business. What are some ways? I mean, sometimes people measure it by, like, hey, you're on the quadrant. As long as I'm on the quadrant, you're good. But there has to be other things that AR can report back in saying, here's what. And one of the interesting interviews previously was the AR professional used to use AI to go and look at all the call recordings to try to find out whether there was any mention of, like, a research firm or an analyst interaction. Any advice for people, some of them newly getting into this role, to say, like, how do you prove value in terms of reporting or in terms of other, I don't want to call it metrics, but activities?
Yeah. I mean, there are so many different ways, Sashi, that you know this, how to show the value. Obviously depends on where your company is at, but say, for example, since you just brought up the analyst research report mentions, is your sales using that? Is it a good reference? Does it make sense to license this? Can we leverage the positioning on these different analyst assets through other channels, sales, marketing, PR? It's the coverage, it's the exposure, it's all of those different things. It's having your executives speak at the analyst events and the industry events, and putting them in the front and center of this audience. So there are just so many different ways that you can show and share the value depending on where your business is.
This was a fantastic conversation, but don't go away yet. We'll have a small episode of Marketing While Brown, and then I'm going to bring in Thomas. Feel free to join the conversation on the comments that are coming through both on LinkedIn and on StreamYard. But this was really great. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, and we'll see you in a bit soon.
Thank you, Sashi.
All right. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So, this episode, one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which is usually trying to choose some tools that are not really mainstream all the time, but something that people can experiment and try on their own. Now, Manus is a company that I followed for some time. They were out of, I think, Singapore or Hong Kong and created a lot of buzz. But when they actually launched, people lost sight of them. But the interesting news is actually Meta has bought this company. Now, one of the things that I have experimented with is like these are all images of LinkedIn posts. Two reasons why I like it. I'm not recommending it, but I'm just giving you my experience. Is that I have not found them making any mistakes in text, and like LLMs that create images don't always know. They think of text also as a component of an image versus text. I'm sure all the companies will change that very soon, but use this, try and experiment it for some fun things like the middle image is actually uh, from a cartoon I posted today. And interestingly enough, my name and several guests on this name, how to make sure that you write their name without making mistakes was the post that I posted. So check out manus.im. They also have an ability for you to do a sandbox of agents that you can create there. So with that, feel free to send me guest recommendations for this show. Feel free to send me any tools that you have seen that may be helpful to a general marketing audience. With that, I'm actually going to bring up my friend Thomas Wieberneit to the stage. Hey, Thomas, good to see you again.
Hey, Shashi, long time no see. Must have been a week or 3 days.
Yeah, that's true. I really enjoyed your company, the questions that you ask, and we've been on the Analyst Gone Wild show a couple of times, met at conferences. But for our audience, introduce yourself. I know I didn't do a good job by the breadth of what you cover, your background. So please go ahead and say a few words of introduction.
Oh, well, you did a fairly good job, so don't put your light too low. Yeah, Thomas Wieberneit. I'm the principal analyst, founder of a boutique consulting and analyst firm named aheadCRM, which pretty much gives the agenda. So I'm a CRM guy. Call it CRM, call it CRX, CX, with all the connotations that are there. So there's mobile, there's AI. Everybody talks AI these days. There's commerce analytics at the edges of it. I'm also a suite guy with an SAP background. So that influences, of course, my thinking to some extent.
Well, so tell us like your journey. Continue with your introduction and tell us your journey to where you are today. Like you look very young, but you might have seen a lot of technology changes and the changes to names and things that have come through.
Yeah. Oh, well, the AI filter seems to be working very well. I share something with Virve. Also, although she uses it a bit more as an allegory, AR as military operations. Well, I'm a former Navy. In my third career now, turned software developer, turned consulting and analyst. So
impressive.
Yeah. So similar to Virve, I stumbled actually into that area because after my Navy career, the first company was a CRM company. Although we didn't call it CRM then, that was back in 95. So I'm also 25, but not for the first time now. That company got acquired by SAP. So I'm part guilty. I became part guilty with that for what became SAP CRM. Guilty. Actually, one should be pretty proud of it because this was at its time quite a great tool. Yeah, and in 2008, after SAP wanted me back from Montreal to Waldorf, I said, no way. Wanted to stay in Montreal, stayed in Montreal, but without SAP, and to make really sure move to New Zealand, hence the .co.nz in my domain. Yeah, then I came a bit across the planet, moved back to Germany for some family reasons, into the US, first Redmond, guess what's there, and now the Charleston area, doing consulting work for buyer clients, buyer-side clients, and what I call advisory to vendor-side clients. Long trip. Second circumnavigation, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really a great journey to this. Now, what have you found the best practices when companies have built up a good relationship with you, and how do you view, like, in general, how do analysts and analyst relations work together? What are some best practices in your experience?
Well, the three best press. Oh my God, I didn't have enough coffee yet. So this so early in the day, only noon. The three best practices actually are speak with me, and speak with me. Not speak at me. That's quite the difference because, well, it's an exchange. It's a mutual exchange that comes only if there is a free communication, a bi-directional communication that also allows me to freely, without any, well, guardians, chaperones with executives and customers. Of course, we are aware that in most events, the customers are sort of reference customers, but not always. And I highly applaud those companies who invite customers who are not 110 or 120% into the Kool-Aid and, well, praising the company over the top, or their vendor over the top. Because, no, would you believe that? I don't. And I don't think I'm a minority there. So it's good to see people at events who are customers, at an analyst event, or the other way around, analysts as customer events, where you can speak to people who are open to, well, constructive criticism. You need both. I mean, part of the analyst work is to act as a mouthpiece, doing, well, spreading the good word. But the other part of analyst work is what you said earlier as well. It's also about influencing the roadmap. It's about giving an outside-in view to the company that helps them identifying where they can become even better than they are. And most of them are good, else they, well, don't last that long, but they are good. But how to become better? How to see trends in the industry that they might not see, or get at least a different assessment of the same trend. It's bi-directional, and this basically boils it down.
Yeah, no, excellent points. So as you think about this, what are some trends you're seeing, not only in how companies interact with analysts, but with the whole AI coming in? I mean, it seems to be a word that comes in every meeting. I also wanted to bring up what Virve said about offline events, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think offline events, like you yourself just said, the ability to meet customers without any guardrails or a lot of monitoring, and also meet with the leaders of the company. Like we were there at Zoho last week, and I think it was a good experience.
Oh,
So
yeah.
talk about, I think I'm throwing a lot of questions at you in this one single question, but best practices. I think there is one comment that Tony is saying is get constructive criticism. That is the most difficult obstacle in developing a business, and he welcomes it. And I have some conversations with him where
Yeah. Yeah, and Tony does. Not everybody does, though. That's it's less a problem for me, but it might become a problem to the vendor because actually they are running around with blinds then, and that's not helpful. That's really not helpful. But back to the AI thing, AI in AR is an interesting thing. So it surely helps in, let's say, summarizing meetings. Trust but verify is what I would add to that. It, from an analyst point of view, helps with research tremendously because you can have your agent do some research while you do a write-up on something else or edit a video or attend a webcast. The challenge is that sometimes it tends to be overused. So like with every possibility of content generation, we shouldn't go too much into generating content with AI. So else we are losing our own tone of voice, for example. We are probably also harassing our own critical thinking. So getting the gist of a message is fine, but again, trust but verify. From a vendor point of view, there is a lot of, if you are looking at press releases, for example, that we are getting confronted with more than every now and then, some of them really look like they are coming directly out of Gemini. And where's the value in that? Where's the value in that? So this is what companies need to provide us with so that we can help them, or at least spread the word, is now there is this cool new feature, but why? What's in it for customers with this thing that are probably using this thing? What's the benefit? Why should they use it? And this is what's oftentimes missing. And part of getting this missing link is also our job, to be the explainers then, so to say. Horse whisperer.
No, good points. One thing that you brought up, which I remember, is like in my career, I never used to ask at the end of a meeting, like, hey, what's your feedback? What did you think about this call? But just asking that simple question got me so much of good feedback and just improvement, right? Like, and I'm expecting both from you and Virve after this, like, you have to tell me how I did as a host too. Because that's important to get feedback. That's the only way we're going to develop every day. So I'm glad you said that companies should actually ask both sides of it. And I think Tony also made a good comment. I wonder if I'm going to ask these questions to Virve when you both come on too. But do you talk to startups? How are they handling analyst relations in general? I mean, one thing that there is a misnomer in many areas is that startups won't get a briefing with analysts. Any comments on any of these points and the question that Tony is asking?
They do get briefings with analysts, so they probably don't get a time slot at Gartner right away if they are, well, somewhere very early in their trajectory. But there are plenty of smaller analysts that are highly interested in learning more about small emerging companies that have great ideas and that are probably also able and willing, not only able, but also willing to help. Now, the rub is, of course, for both sides, it's a business. The very early startup doesn't actually have the funds to pay me. So that means, to some extent, the time that I can invest is limited. because well, I mentioned, did I mention that I have 3 daughters at college? Well, two at college right now, but the third one is getting there soon. And well, it's a business, is the message. So it's a mutual business. So there must not be, or should not be at least, an expectation that we are therefore free forever. Yeah, so we need to, well, tend to our businesses too. So the objective there should be make it a give and take. Yeah, and this might be bartering actually. Might actually be bartering. Yeah. The advice there is reach out. Most of us have a website. Most of us in our LinkedIn profile have a kind of a connection button. The very minimum there is the in message in LinkedIn. Write something that's interesting, not something that is cryptic, very cryptic, or obviously self-serving. I mean, if I get asked for by a vendor or service provider for collaboration options, well, it's not a collaboration. This is me becoming their client. So write something that makes me interested in you. And then I'll respond.
True.
I might even respond if it's not that interesting, but well, don't make it a sales pitch.
Good advice. I think say hi to Petri Isola. He's also from your part of the country.
Actually,
You're also in the East Coast.
I'm on the East Coast, but North Carolina is a bit away. I'm South Carolina, of course.
No, Petri, glad you could join us. Let us know if there are any questions that you'd like to put. Very interesting that you said. So the takeaway for most startups or smaller companies, imagine OpenAI 4 years ago was a startup, small company. I mean, I think in order to get some knowledge, analysts will talk to companies of any size. But you're also right that it can be a repeated process where you keep asking for feedback or briefing. I think a briefing would probably be a good start. So I agree with you. I hope this is a good message for all the startups. And Tony, let us know if that. I think Tony has been doing a good job with like speaking. Especially events are a great way to get to know people and network a little bit. So I would agree with that. Now, in terms of events, what are some? I want to make this positive. Like, what are some best practices that you've seen with events, and what is the advice to analyst relations folks to continue to improve on what they're doing already with technology analysts?
Well, the base one is don't make us die death by PowerPoint. That's the base one. Yeah. Allow us to speak with executives on all levels. So make time for that in the agenda of your event. And many vendors are getting really good at that. And now I really need to praise Sandy. She is amazing at doing exactly that. Yeah. Also, she's amazing at asking what did we do good and not so good. And guess what? The not so good gets far less in the next event. So this is important. Yeah. Then what I can't emphasize enough upon is customers, not necessarily only reference customers, but then, as said, there needs to be some constructive criticism. That's why in my customer interviews, the last question is always asked, what did you always want and never get? Yeah, so
a good question.
Some of them have a good answer in my eyes, some of them a not so exciting one. And yeah, that helps. That really helps. And then, well, again, mutual, build on the relationship. After all, it's people business. It's people speaking with each other, talking to each other, exchanging ideas. It's listen, talk, think. on both sides. And well, on-premise events work best for that. But also for the mingling amongst us, for example, that's another opportunity, right? If there is, well, somewhere a table in a not in the middle of the room, that helps us having a conversation in private and exchange our own thoughts. It's important.
So round tables with customers is something that...
Yeah, round tables are something that's really important as well. That is one that I might add. So round tables with customers interviewed by vendor would be my second choice. The third choice means lower the chain, is having a vendor executive interviewed by a vendor PR person. That's a no-no. That's really a no-no. So because that results in softballs everywhere. Softball questions analysts can ask as well. And of course we often do because, well, we want to help and not distract or distract. And we want to help, but there's far more credibility if not the same entity asks questions to itself. That doesn't really help. So the credibility is fairly low. So use external people for enhanced credibility, whether you're talking to your customers on stage or whether you're talking to your own execs on stage. We can make that even longer. So keynotes, there are good ones and not so good ones.
Yeah, no, one question that I had was the whole community of independent analysts, right? I find that it's not a competition. Like everybody has their own perspectives. The more perspectives they hear, the better. And it's sometimes very different from each other. And also there's a lot of cooperation. If you are talking to Analyst Relations about independent analysts, what's your message? Do you advise people to be broad, like, hey, engage with a group of different opinions, and is that good? What's your view? And then after this question, we'll bring Virve back, and clearly you've not attended any of Mitel's events because I'm sure she has some great ideas too. So we'll ask her that question when we bring her up shortly.
Yeah, so the answer to the first question is speak to many of us, or speak with many of us, because guess what? Shashi and Thomas have different thoughts, because we have different backgrounds, because we have different priorities. Talking to only one of us might help you miss out on a perspective that might actually be helpful. None of us is always right, except me, of course. But none of us is none of us is always right, and none of us has all the information, and none of us has the 100% insight into your company. You do, and as the AR person, you do, and what you are missing, on the contrary, is more outside view. So, and there, again, it's an exchange. So talk to more than just one or two.
Cool.
And by the way, yes, I'm missing out on too many of those briefings because they are always at a time where I'm working for another startup as well. I'm a chief product officer there. Our sprint reviews are exactly at that time.
Good. You can tell her directly. I'm going to bring her up now.
Hey,
welcome back,
Virve.
I was going to say, we have to do it on stage and Sashi's live broadcast, and now you're telling me that my briefings are at the wrong time. But it's all about communications. I'm glad we can fix this. No problem.
I didn't say your briefing is at the wrong time. I say the sprint review is at the wrong time. But still, I need to prioritize.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's true. So, Virve, you're listening to this conversation too. Like, any thoughts that you'd like to weigh in on, especially since we spoke about events, and I don't think either of us attended events. But what are you finding? I think one point that I wanted to ask you was about who interviews the executives. Do you have, sometimes even customers interviewing the executives on stage, or maybe you have other ideas? What do you think?
I mean, I agree with Thomas, and I don't want to throw any of my PR colleagues under the bus, but by saying that it shouldn't be a PR person, and there are PR persons who don't do softballs either. So I would say that it needs to be somebody who understands the business and gets the nuances and understands where the analysts are coming from and understands where the business is heading and what the business objectives for the company are. So I'm not so much of after titles, and it's more about personalities and who is a good EMC for that typical or that situation. But obviously, if you're an executive or if you're a CMO, is a good one typically to do interviews, or even you can use one of the analysts. Why not? I've done that before as well. But one thing I wanted to add, Sashi, and I when I was on the backstage, was that when I go to analyst conferences, I always wear red because you stand out and you're being seen. So that's one of the things. It's like you don't have to introduce yourself if you've already done your homework and your briefings and everything else, because everybody will see you that you're there, kind of thing. But I don't think it's if you're a startup and you're trying to get the word out there, it's not only about AR. I think AR should be part of your go-to-market strategy, but there are other elements to that as well. There's PR, there's social. There's events, there are awards, there are other influencers that you should be engaging with. So there are a lot of different components that go into that. Go into the go-to-market plan that you want to get some exposure, and you want to get engagement, and you want to get recognition for your company or product.
That's true. But Thomas, you heard it right. Next conference, wear red. Both of us.
I can't wait to see you.
Sorry, but no. I'll wear black. I think I'm differentiated enough by my haircut, recognizable.
No, but the point is really good. Like use your own methods to stand out and do your homework. I think is a point well taken. I wonder if you want to answer Tony's question about. I think this probably varies, but what is the approximate number of analysts you communicate with systemically?
Oh my goodness! Now you're asking my AR business secrets. But okay, I will share with you. I think I have my newsletter goes out to about 5,000 analysts around the world. Depending on what region we're doing the webinars, anywhere between, I would say, 20 to 50, depending on what the topic is. So I would, it really depends what the engagement is for, what is it about, what's the channel that we're using, and what's the objective there of the outreach.
Cool. Tony, I hope that answers your question. Now, I wanted to ask Thomas about your experience with companies doing user groups. Like, I haven't been to a Mitel user group, but just in, researching the company.
You will.
Yeah, but just researching the company and, I think customer advocacy is a very underutilized function in many companies. Like people assume customer advocacy is like getting a referral customer, like you said, Thomas, or otherwise. But there are so many ways. And I think in my book, customers are your biggest marketing channel because your product is good, they're going to be telling people. Now, I put analyst relations as number 3. So first is customer, second is peer-to-peer, meaning you're going to ask somebody who's exactly in the position there. The third is analyst, and I've actually done research on this where analyst content gets cited the highest because of how people are searching for, and they look for a neutral source. But going back to the question, have you seen any companies doing a lot of work with community and user groups, Thomas? Because I have a clear example here, and after you answer, we'll dig in a little bit more. Virve answered the question, but what's your advice to other people? So you go ahead, Thomas.
Well, by all means, all the big ones are doing user groups, and some of the smaller ones as well. Yeah.
No, but
This is-
really,
This, Yeah, look at the big companies. Look at, well, enterprise software. There are big 4, 5 at ServiceNow. Then they are all doing user groups, and they are all doing it quite good. Smaller ones as well. It's like, well, little Belgium one, Odoo. They went into that world quite recently, but they are doing it pretty strongly right now as well. Why are they doing it? For 2 reasons. First, to make sure that customers and partners, which we need to add into that circle as well, do know about what's coming, what's there, and how to use it. And the other thing is to learn what the heck does not work and what customers do want. From an analyst point of view, it's pretty interesting to be in these user groups, even as a fly on the wall, not saying anything, because you get the news right out of the horse's mouth. You get it, well, fairly unfiltered sometimes. I know I've seen pretty angry customers in a user group. So you get it fairly unfiltered, and you are getting the good and the bad again, which is important to have, because we all get it, and it's fair enough. Analyst relations, to some extent, goes into marketing. Yeah, so I mean, sometimes we are mouthpieces, and that's fair enough. It's part of the job, and it's a fun part of the job oftentimes even. But to be real analysts, we also need to see the other side, the other side of the force, maybe. And with that, have the ability to constructively mirror that back to vendor. It's not about slamming someone. It's about becoming better mutually, actually.
Yeah, Virve, your reaction to this. I have some thoughts, but that will take a whole 1 hour for, between customer advocacy, developer evangelism, and user groups. I think user groups that run by themselves are probably a good thing. So go ahead and tell us your views of the difference.
Sure, I mean, very, very much aligned what Thomas just what Thomas just said, and I think that's the beauty of the user groups as well. I mean, people don't go there to, it's like, share with me all the good things and the positive things as a customer kind of thing, but it's really that peer-to-peer networking. And I mean, I've literally seen it happen multiple times in front of my eyes, or being part of being the fly on the wall, even though it's difficult for me because I'd like to talk. To see where a customer from Europe in healthcare, for example, is having a conversation with a Mitel customer, a retail customer in the US, and they're talking about different workflow integrations, for example, and the other CIO goes like, okay, well, my partner didn't know that. Thanks so much. Can I call you if, whatever reason I can't make it happen in my system when I go back home? And it's like, it's that problem solving, and it's the experience and information and expertise sharing that I think it's just a huge value add. Not to talk about all the after parties and all the fun.
That's true. So the main takeaway for analyst relations folks is, what my understanding from this conversation is, that along with the analysts and your responsibility as analyst relations, take part in customer advocacy too. Even if you're going to be a, like you said, we fly on the wall, listening, and as Thomas said, like, hey, invite a few analysts and tell them, like, hey, go for it, talk to, listen to people, and you'll figure out how much of transparency is there in the product, right? So I think we are at time, but quickly, Virve, any last minute thoughts? Thank you so much for being a guest here. I think we did discuss a lot of points.
Oh my goodness, I'll be here back anytime I'm invited or uninvited, but this is a great, really appreciate, and nice meeting Thomas as well. So maybe the last thing would be that since we're discussing AR, that AR isn't a vending machine. So it's not, you can't just insert a budget and say that top right, please. That it's really about trust and it's relationships and it's proof points and it's grown-up storytelling. Grown-up storytelling that says that it's way harder and it's way more valuable and it's way more fun as well than buying can ever be. So appreciate the opportunity. Thank you, Sashi, and thanks, Thomas.
Thank you, Virve. Thomas, last words of wisdom before the show ends.
Well, I have not much to add to what Virve just said. So it's about trust. That's the core thing. Build mutual trust. The more trust there is, the more ability to constructively challenge each other is there. And don't forget the fun. Don't forget the fun. Those networking events before and after the formal agenda are so important.
That's true. No, thank you both.
Nice meeting you too, finally.
Yeah, I look forward to us crossing paths again. But hey, everyone, those who joined, or if you're watching this recording, like Thomas said, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. That seems to be the best thing. And you will find Virve in that. We'll probably write a post also on the takeaways here. But feel free to watch this show and any other show that you've had so far on most of the channels that we have, including. Have a great afternoon, evening, or whenever you're watching this show. Thank you very much.
Thanks, and thanks for having me too.
This has been a Players Productions Network digital broadcast.